Hello and welcome to a new Blitz video, 3 minutes with no increment, and I am going for my, hopefully, maybe not, nope, sort of a King's Indian, but we have a London system from white. So I'm going to try and use a setup that I actually played in one of my team competition games this season, which is this setup with an early knight c6, knight d7 to try and get e5 in and get a lot of control over that square. If I go a6, the bishop is going to get traded. I don't really think he would take. Don't really see the benefit of it from white's perspective. Pawn to e5, and okay, he's attacking the pawn here. If I go pawn to e4, can he actually take on c6? Maybe. Okay, I'll just attack the queen. Let's see where it wants to go. Yeah, if queen b3 I would have had a free tempo with bishop e6, but I was a bit wondering about queen to c2 because then e4 was not an option. In this position though, I can probably play this. Okay, there's no increment, so I'll play a bit quickly. I play f5 so that now I could have some ideas with g5 and f4. Okay, e4. Bishop to e6, and I'm trying to control all of those light squares that my opponent has now some problems to deal with the absence of his light squared bishop. What about c5? I like c5, but maybe it just loses a pawn like this. I wanted to get the doubled pawns like this to limit that c2 knight. Okay, maybe knight here. Oh, I should avoid trades. Queen to g6, trying to add some protection to e4 and maybe threaten f4. f4, why not? I have ideas of f3, pawn takes, and I just recapture. And then the pawn on h3 is very weakened. I don't have to play it immediately, but this looks very fine. Knight to d5 is now a very attractive looking option. If he has to play something like knight to b1, it is very ugly. If I go to c3, then my knight is kind of trapped. I don't see a way for my opponent to take advantage of it immediately, but this could come back to haunt me at some point, but hopefully my threats against his king will be concrete enough for me to not have to worry about those threats against my knight. Okay, I also have the e2 square now available, which I'm going to take advantage of immediately, and h5, maybe even bishop takes immediately. Bishop takes, pawn takes, queen e6. Yeah, he would have had to play this move anyway. What I would like now would just be to open up the h file, put my king on f7, Okay, this. King f7. And the fact that I don't have to take here makes it very awkward for him to bring any pieces to the defense. Okay, I'm taking now because I don't want rook takes e2. Rook h8, rook h4, double. If king runs, rook takes g4. I win the queen. Could have played the rook a h8 as well. This would have been winning too. Okay, I'm going to play this so that I don't mess it up and lose on the clock. Knight here. Okay, I just close the center so nothing weird happens. I have bishop to f1. Hopefully I mate him before I lose on time. Okay, let's have a little look. I love the King's Indian. Yeah, this was not the usual kind of London system that we get. Yeah, this setup, I almost had the exact same position in my team league game. The difference was that my opponent put the bishop on e2 in our game, and here he went for some bishop b5, which is kind of strange. Also bishop g5. Bishop g5 has the idea to prevent my e5 from being played on the very next move, but at the same time, after queen e8, which is also part of my plan, the bishop just lost the tempo, which actually becomes kind of valuable because I get my plan anyway. h6, won another tempo. a6, I get the bishop pair. Now, yeah, there are many ways to play g5 or f5 in one order or another. e5, queen here, knight to b6. I was a bit wondering about e4, but I think queen c6 is just about works for him. Rook b8 was playable to counter-attack against b2. This was interesting, but knight b6 was simple and good enough. Queen back, I played f5. Yeah, every pawn move in the center is forced. Is decent, apart from e takes d4, I would assume. f5, bishop back. I close the center, and now I'm ready to attack on this flank of the board. I played a5, which was by no means forced, but I am trying to limit the only place where some counterplay from him could come. g5, queen to g6. Yeah, the attack is just flowing, basically. His pieces are not well placed to deal with it. Yeah, b3 is kind of strange, but it's very difficult to suggest anything here. Knight to d5, c4. I enter in the hole. Queen to e1, f3, g4, h5. No, I didn't play h5. I played knight to e2, which is basically the same. h5. And yeah, probably taking the rook is good enough, but the knight is so good here, and the rook doesn't even have a square available, so I'm not in any rush whatsoever. Okay, I took king f7. Now I decided to take because at some point I will most likely win some material, but I would rather get rid of the rook on g1, which is the only rook of the two that is currently useful in defending the king, rather than the rook on e1, which is not doing anything at all. Okay, I took the rook, queen takes, rook to h8. Yeah, even doubling the rooks was probably just giving mate. Don't think the rest needs more comments. d5 was not even... First I could just put the rook on the h file and this is just game over. Okay, I think this was a decent game. Yeah, I love the King's Indian. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.